and I know I'm a bit late to the party, so to speak, but Happy New Year. I've been trying or wanting to film this Flosstube for a little while, but you know, life and stuff. So again, I'm a little bit late, but I still thought that I would try to get this done. So I'm just gonna go through my whips. I don't have that many, but this time, since it is an attempt to sort of sum up this year, I'm probably gonna talk a little bit more on each project, maybe, kind of. So it might be a little bit of a longer video than usual from me, because I mean, my long videos normally are the stitch with me's, and I try to keep the floss tubes kind of shorter and more just getting to the facts. But anyways, yeah, so I thought I'd try and do that, and if that sounds interesting, just keep watching. So let me start with this project, The Little Match Girl by Jasmine Beckett Griffith from Heaven and Earth Designs. It is stitched on a 25 count even weave Lugana with CXC floss. And I did start this project on December 14th in 2020. So it's been a little bit since I began this project. And this project sort of started this whole journey on Flosstube, and also leaving a monogamous stitching life behind. Since I did not want to stitch on this one during the summer, I opted first to switch crafts. So I would put this in the bag and put it aside and spend my time diamond painting or knitting or whatever during the summer, and then I would bring this back out, which meant that there were a lot of months during the year that I did not stitch at all, which I didn't like. So hence why I began to explore the possibility of starting more projects. It was a little bit of a journey. I did watch a lot of Flosstube videos, of course, and yeah, I felt like maybe I should do that, because I did miss stitching during the summer. So the first step was just to start another little project, which I will show you in a little bit. And that worked out well, and then, well, I continued on from there. This is also when I filmed my first very, very confused Flosstube. I'm so sorry. It is still up there, and I'm gonna leave it up there because it's confused, and it's supposed to be confused because I was confused. But yeah, it did sort of start this whole journey for me, which I'm happy about. So what happened with this is that I did put it aside, and I picked it up again in late October this year, and I'm just going to show the progress. So here it is, and as you can see, it is coming on well. I have spent a few days, like 19 days, and I did not start counting the days until after I started Flosstube, so that is May. In May last year. I want to say this year, but it was last year. So 19 days is not quite accurate. It's more than 19 days, but 19 days since I restarted it, or not restarted it, but picked it up again in October. I have transitioned also into diagonal stitching, because when I started this I worked row by row. I did sort of cross country with a little bit of parking, and when I picked it up again, it was, yeah, it just felt natural to go into diagonal stitching. And as you can see, it's from upper left to lower right, which works well with this pattern and where I was starting the transition into diagonal stitching. Yeah, I'm so in love with this project. First of all, it's Jasmine Beckett-Griffith. I adore her artwork, and then it's Heaven and Earth Design. I adore their charts. So everything about this project is just perfect. So the plan for 2023 with this one is I'm gonna continue stitching on it January and February, and I'm probably gonna pause it from March on. It depends a little bit on the weather, but I think that is what's going to happen. I will try to pick it up a bit sooner though. In 2022 I did bring it back out last week of October, I think, and I might try to do that a bit sooner, but it also depends upon the weather, because in 2022 the weather in October was actually kind of warm here in Sweden, or where I live at least, and so it didn't feel like wintry. So if we get cooler or colder weather in October this year, I might pick this out a bit earlier. We'll see. But yeah, I love it so much. So this other little project that I did start, like I talked about before, was this one. It's called Little Bird on a Branch. It's from a company named Dream Pattern, I think. It's a stitch on a 14 count Aida with a cotton blend, I think, floss. And there's a little bit of a silver in here too, which was horrendous to stitch with, but it turned out nice anyways. So this was a super fun and a super quick stitch. I started it on the 22nd of April 2022 and I finished it on May 10th. So quick little project. I altered it a little bit by not doing the back. Well, I did try to do the back stitching on the buds here, but I didn't like the way it looked, so I ripped it out. I don't have it mounted. I just have it stored. But I mean I like it. It's super cute. And this was sort of the first time I ever had two projects going at the same time, the little match girl and then this guy, and it worked out well. So yeah, so due to that I just thought that it was okay to keep going and keep starting more projects. So on to my dream project, which of course is a Stitch in Time by Amy Stewart from Heaven and Earth Design. It is also a stitch on 25 count Lugana with DMC. And again, this was also a part of my journey to Flosstube and starting several projects, because I knew that this was going to keep me company for many years, and if I wanted to do that, I knew that I would probably want to have at least one more whip going at the same time. I do follow other floss tubers who are stitching on this or other Amy Stewart projects, also supersized and max colors, and they are, at least a couple of them that I follow are monogamous stitchers, and their progress is insane. They are also super fast when they stitch. I'm not so fast. I just taking it nice and slow, enjoying every moment. And as you can see, I am transitioning into diagonal stitching. On this one though, I'm working from the upper right down to lower left, which for some reason makes more sense to me on this project. Also, I started here in this corner, so yeah, it just made sense to do that. Again, I like the cross country, but I also like the parking because it gives me a bit more of a control on where I am in the chart. So yeah, and also with that, because sometimes when I do at least cross country, you get the threads pulling a bit on the backside, and I'm not liking that. So sometimes when you have to travel far like this that I parked, I prefer to have a little bit of leeway in case I snag on the back. And as you can see, this is my back, oops. Yeah, if you're someone who likes neat backs on your projects, then don't do parking. Well, kind of do parking, but then do stitch at a time, because then you get a really compact and nice back. I don't care really, and it's, you know, whatever you like. But I'm not quite there yet. I'm still working to get like the whole diagonal here, and I am going to do it a section at a time. So I'm working down to where the spring shelf ends, and then the summer begins. So I'm just going to do the spring first, which is like a whole cross the whole project. And because you get like a natural breaking point here with the shelf line. So yeah, I just thought that would work for me. Let me see, is there anything else? I spent about 33 days on this, so it's not that much. I started it on May 19th, so yeah, 33 days is not that much, but I mean, I want to savor it also, because it is, oh, I love it so much. It is something special about the Heaven and Earth Designs chart. I love stitching on the 25 count. Everything is just beautiful. Yeah, so I'm enjoying this so much. So I'm just going to continue slow and steady, and maybe for 2023 now. I mean, I'm not gonna do like mania. Mania, when you start a project every day in the month of May, that would be too much for me and my brain. I think it would explode. But I am considering, because I know that there are some floss tubers out there who are doing like a monogamous month instead, and I might consider doing that, and then this project would be a good project to just spend the whole month on. But we'll see. I have another contender too, so I don't know. But yeah, this is the progress. I'm just keep on working on it slowly and enjoying every stitch of it. Here is another Jasmine Beckett Griffith. It is my Grumpy Red Fairy. I started this on May 30th, and it is stitch on, of course, 25 count, which is my favorite, and with the DMC. This is a smaller one, as you can see, so it's fast. You make progress really fast. Heaven and Earth Design, of course, favorite company, Heaven and Earth Design. I did actually sort of pause this because I thought that I had made a mistake. I was stitching on this when I had COVID actually, and I had a little bit of fever, not that much. I wasn't that sick at all, but I think my brain was a bit tired, so I was confusing myself, so I quickly stopped. And when I went back to it, I thought I made a mistake, and I just, couldn't be bothered, so I just put it aside for a while. But then I went back recently and looked at it again, and I have not made a mistake actually. I just had not marked off the stitches that I had completed in the pattern keeper, so it threw me off. But everything is okay, I can continue this. I am going to wait though until I put my little match girl away, because I thought maybe it's better. I thought for me it makes more sense to just have one Jasmine Beckett Griffith going at a time. So while I'm stitching on the little match girl, this one will just have to wait for a bit. But I am enjoying this as much as I am enjoying the other Heaven and Earth design projects. So just pausing it for a bit and then picking it up again in March. And I think this one I will be able to finish this year, because I have a lot of months to stitch on it, and as I said, it's a quick stitch. It's not too much confetti. There are a lot of color blocking, so yeah, this is a fast one, and again I'm enjoying it so much. So here is the fitting by Victor Schramm from Heaven and Earth Design. This is also a stitch on 25 count even weave Lugana. It's the CXC floss. As you can see, I'm stitching on the diagonal, but here I'm stitching square by square. For some reason this works better with this chart in my mind for my brain. I don't know why, but yeah, this seems to be working much better on this chart. As always, I mean, it's Heaven and Earth. I'm stitching on 25 count. I'm loving it, of course I am. I have spent about 15 days on this, and this is also maybe a contender for the monogamous May. So we'll see. Maybe I'll choose this one, maybe I'll choose a stitch in time. I haven't really decided yet. But again, I am just enjoying it so much. And I think I mentioned before on Flosstube, but I mean, because yeah, there is some color blocking, but there are more colors. Maybe you can see it a little bit in here than you think, which when you see it in real life gives like really a bit of more of a depth to it. So it's a really beautiful picture. It's rendered or charted beautifully too. So it's just great. So if you're considering it, just do it, because the picture is beautiful and the chart is perfect, and it is like a semi big project. It's not too big, I think. On June the 8th, I did start this project. It's called A Host of Poppies by Mary Dipnall from the Maya collection. This is a beautiful project that I really like. It is stitched on 16 count Aida with anchor floss, so it's a joy to stitch on, kind of. For some reason I'm not feeling this. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why. It's I think it's something about the chart. I don't know. But I mean, look at the colors. It's, yeah, I'm liking. I mean, looking at it and doing, it's just something that I'm not picking this project up. I don't know why. It's a little bit about the chart, but yeah, there's something else going on. So anyways, I started it in June. I've spent like 2 or 3 days on it only since then. And yeah, I'm having this just in the project bag for now. I'm gonna give it another try this year, this summer. If I can't make it work, I'm probably gonna retire it completely, which is a shame because it's a beautiful project. I just, yeah, well, you know, sometimes you just don't feel it, and I don't want to force myself too much because I have so many other projects that I'm really enjoying stitching on. So yeah, why spend time sort of torturing yourself? But I'm not just also gonna give up without trying. So as I said, I haven't done a lot of progress, but I am gonna give it another go, and hopefully it works. And if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Then I'm gonna find a way to pass it on to someone else, or maybe store it and hope that I will be able to pick it up in later, maybe a couple of years or so. We'll see. But again, I'll try. I'll give it another go. And here is, of course, my beloved hedgehogs. This was such a fun and delightful stitch. I started this project on June 10th. Yeah, June 10th. And it's stitched on 40 count Ada with a wool acrylic floss. So it's a blend, and it was the first time that I stitched with this type of floss. And it was a bit, I wouldn't say awkward, but it took a little bit of getting used to for me. But once you get into it, it's really fun. This is part of a series. I was saying that Riolis, this is a kit from Riolis that they have, and I do plan to start another one of these. I have the squirrels too that I really like, so I think I'm gonna start that too sometime. Yeah, sometime soonish. But yeah, so I started this on June 10th and I finished it on October 23rd. I spent about 29 days stitching on this, and when I say days, I'm not sure how many hours, so it's not like 29 8-hour days. It's just 29 days. Maybe I spent 2 hours, maybe I spent more, I don't know. I'm not keeping record that detailed, so, but yeah, so almost a month this took me to complete. Super fun, just happy doing it, and turned out so cute. I have not, and I do not mount these. I just store them, and then I can take them out and just look at them, like when I do floss tubes like this. So I do recommend, if you haven't tried these Riolis kits, please do. They are not that expensive, actually. Well, I don't think so, and you can get them on sale too for a really good deal. So yeah, I highly recommend the Riolis kits, these little smaller ones. I have a bigger one also, which is completely different, which is part of their more expensive lines, I think. I haven't tried it yet, but I have it there waiting for me, so I might start that one up also this year or maybe next year, I don't know. But yeah, hedgehogs in lingonberries. So time for pandemic from Long Dog Samplers. Now most of you know about this project. Many of you have already done it and completed it, I think, even. I started it, let me see, in June 11th. Yeah, June 11th. And this is my first ever sampler. And I wasn't sure if I was going to like it, but I did. And I don't like it, I love it. It is so much fun working on a sampler and just stitch by stitch. On this I work row by row, and I think I work mostly vertically. Yeah. And what happened with this project is it ended up being the one that I bring with me everywhere. So I'm not necessarily sitting down several days in a row with this one, because I keep it with me. It's easy to bring with me because, I mean, there's only one color. Well, I guess some of you are using more than one color, but I use just the one. So it's so easy to just bring it with me. I don't really have to think about it. I also use both a paper pattern or chart and Pattern Keeper, the app. Since the back stitching does not show up on Pattern Keeper, I have, at least not for me, I don't know how to do that. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I do have the paper pattern printed out, so I just combine the two. And so I work off the paper pattern and I mark it off in Pattern Keeper, and that works really well for me. It is stitched on 18 count Ada with a silk floss from Mrs. Cedas on Etsy. I love this floss. I've talked about it before, and I mean, it's so wonderful to work with, so I highly recommend. And when I started this, I know I was so enthusiastic because I love it, and I really do. So I was about ready to start another one right away. But then I thought, no, maybe better pace yourself and just give it a little bit of time, you know, and maybe finish this one before you start another Long Dog sampler. I just want to have one at a time going, so which I have, but I have the floss for the next one, and I have the chart, of course, so it's, and the fabric. It's just lying there waiting for me to finish this one. Super fun. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on this. I've only spent about 17 days on it, and this is just because, like I said, this has turned out to be the project that I bring with me, like work, because sometimes I book clients, which means that sometimes when I get cancellations, I get like a couple of hours where I have nothing to do. When I've done cleaning and stuff like that, then I can spend a little bit of time on stitching, and this is a perfect project to bring with you for that. I just whip it out and yeah, just do a little bit. So it's like a little bit here and there, but I am going to try to more, you know, sit down with it and really spend a few days in a row stitching on this to make maybe a little bit more progress. But again, I'm not in a rush to finish. I'm just having fun with it. But still, yeah, we'll see. Since I enjoyed my hedgehogs so much, I did decide to start another Reola's kit. This is cornflowers. by Leviton, I don't know. It is stitched on 14 count Ida with its wool acrylic blended floss. Again, I really do enjoy stitching with it. As you can see, mostly cross country, a little bit of parking. To me, at least, I feel that this floss has a tendency to fray and tangle a little bit more actually than other flosses that I've tried. So I do prefer less parking, but a little bit of parking for if you have to travel a long way, but not too much parking. I usually work when it comes to paper charts, just one row at a time or one column at a time. It makes it easier to just know, for me at least, where I am on the chart. This one started August 4th. I've spent about 8 days on it, so not too many days. I have hopes to maybe finish it this year. That might not happen, and that's okay. But I have it as sort of a little bit of a goal to finish it. It kind of depends also if I do decide to start another realist kit soon, then I might spend more time on that. Yeah, okay, we'll see. See, changing my mind again. But no, as a goal, I'll try to finish this one in 2023. Interesting. We'll see if that happens. This is definitely a favorite. It's called Dancing Party. That's the rough translation. Okay, I'm not quite sure, but Dancing Party seemed to make most sense. And it is stitched on 16 count Aida with some sort of DMC cotton floss, I think. I started it on August 13th, and this might be part of a collection or some more images of the same type. I'm not sure. It was a little bit hard to figure out, but I did like this image, and I don't know why, but I am liking this so much also. Maybe it's the format, because you can work from the top all the way down to the bottom in one go, so you really see the image completed as you work your way forward. I sort of don't mind the chart here. It is not too bad. It is a paper chart, but yeah, I don't mind. And I sort of grid as I go, as I usually do. Again, just taking my time and having a lot of fun. Really, really enjoying this one. And did I tell you? I spent about 2 weeks on this. And again, maybe a couple of hours every day, maybe some days I spend more. I have been lucky to have a few free days where I can just spend the whole day stitching, but that doesn't happen every day. So 14 days, more or less interpret that as you will. We're moving on to the stamped kit. This is my first ever stamped kit, and I don't mind it. I don't love it, but I don't mind it. I mean, I like stitching on it. I'm just not in love with it, so to speak. It's 11 count Aida with this is definitely a blended floss, I think, cotton blend, maybe a little bit of acrylic in it. I started it on August 7th, 14th. I spent about 10 days actually on it, and like I said, I don't mind it. It's okay, but when it comes to maybe it's a count, maybe it's 11 count with a three strand. You have to use 3 strands on 11 count. So that might be it, or maybe it's just that I'm a little bit distracted. I mean, it's a good thing to have the chart or the everything on the fabric, so you never have to look away. You can just really find your stitching on the fabric itself. And like I said, I do I mean, I have stitched quite a lot on it, and it's perfectly fine, and I will finish it. I'm hoping to finish it this year, but maybe it's just a learning process to get into it. I don't know. I am in 2023. If I can finish this, I am gonna try at least one more, just to give it more of an honest chance. One of the difficulties, I think, is to just find good images. It's a bit tricky to order the stamp kits, I think, but and most of them seem to be, at least on some of the websites, seems to be an 11 count. And like I said, 11 count Aida is not my favorite. I prefer 16 or 18 count Aida. Aida in itself, I don't mind. I actually like Aida a lot, but 11 count, there is something about it that just feels clunky. If you haven't tried stamp kits, please do, because there are some benefits to it, definitely, and it does stitch up pretty fast. So you know, just try it and see for yourself. I'm not against it, I'm just not in love with it. On to another beautiful picture that I have not made a lot of progress on. This is called Gazing. I bought it from Amazon, and the company is called Stitch DMC. 14 count Aida with DMC floss, I think. This one is an interesting one. I started it on August 23rd, and it's a slow stitch, but I'm liking it nonetheless. I'm not gonna make a lot of progress on this. This is gonna be a forever project, I think, and it's not because, I mean, when you look at the Heaven and Earth design projects, there are smaller count stitches, and I make progress faster on those projects than I do on this, and this is just because of the chart. I think the symbols are tricky, and yeah, it's a slow one, so you kind of have to be clear-minded and on your game when you're stitching on this. So I am liking it though, so I definitely will continue. I can't spend too many days in a row on this one, because your head gets tired and your eyes get tired, because you really have to look at the chart and make sure, because there are a lot of arrows and darts and stuff, and going in different directions, and you know, when you've been at it for a while, your eyes start to not see the difference between the different arrows and stuff. So yeah, that is why I'm not making a lot of progress on this. I spent about 8 days, and a maximum, I think, like 2 days in a row, but then I just have to put it aside and rest my eyes for a bit. So it takes a while to get it done. but with this one I don't mind for some reason. Yeah, this is actually a painting in the painting. So starting up here, this is a painting in the painting on the wall in the room. So that's interesting. This is why it's a little bit blurring. I think it's going to be a little bit better when you get the back stitching on here. But yeah, I thought that was kind of fun. A fun fact that this is a painting in the painting itself. So yeah, 2023, one day at a time, one square at a time, and well, when I'm not counting on making a lot of progress, and that's okay with me anyways. For a little while there, I just focused on working on my whips that I had going. So the next project I didn't start until October 5th, and it's the Blue Flowers Girl from Lanarte. Yeah, it's on 30 count linen. This one is also, I mean, enjoyable. I do enjoy stitching on it, but it's a little bit slow, and it's not because of the linen. It's because of the chart again. They have the chart divided 5 by 5, and which sort of put me off a little bit at first, because I'm used to marking it 10 by 10. But just to make it easier and not count and count and count, I just decided to do it 5 by 5, so I can follow the chart. And once I did that, I did make progress faster. So yeah, other than that, I mean, the chart is just fine to follow. But at first I did struggle a bit, and I did have to frog a bit, because I sort of got wrong, because yeah, like I said, the line in the chart 5 by 5, and yeah, anyways. So when I gridded and added the lines in between, then things went a lot faster. I spent only 5 days on this, and it's because in the beginning, like I said, since I had it gridded 10 by 10, that slowed me down so much. But I was a bit stubborn. But the last couple of days I spent on this, I did do the grid again, and yeah, I like that so much more. So I'm definitely going to continue on this one, and again, taking my time, not rushing. So we'll see where we end up with this one. And like I said, I grade as I go, so I'm glad I hadn't, done all the fabric, and I just had the opportunity to just feel my way forward with this, because this is the first time also that I'm trying a Lanarte kit, and so far so good. So that's a tip for you. If the chart is gridded 5 by 5, grid your fabric 5 by 5. It makes it so much easier, at least in my opinion. And here is the last chart that I started in 2022. It is called Christmas Tree of Wishes, and it's a lovely, lovely kit from this company, Momentos Magical Moments, I'm thinking. And it truly is magical. Now this kit is a little bit special, at least to me. I ordered this from Mega Embroidery on Etsy, and this is a Ukrainian store. Now I wanted to support Ukraine for a while now, and I've seen a lot of projects and really, really nice initiatives from Flosstubers and diamond painters and all that, and I'm just not have been able to join in on those due to several reasons. But I still wanted to somehow support someone in the Ukraine. So I did have to save up a little bit more money, because it is a little bit more expensive right now to order from there, and you have to also include or be prepared for longer shipping times, which is totally fine. So totally fine. I mean, to me it is just amazing that they can keep a little shop like this open, and that the postal service in the Ukraine are working and getting the stuff to us. It's extraordinary. I think it's so cool. So yeah, mega embroidery on Etsy. This is such a nice kit. The chart is so nice. It is such a quick stitch. It's so easy to follow. I'm gonna show you the progress. There are some back stitching, full crosses, and there are some beads included also. I started it on November 26th. I spent about 11 days on this, and this is how far I've gotten. Again, working from paper charts, I try to not park too much, so a little bit of parking, like 2 threads parked. Other cross country, I'm working quite methodically, row by row. As I said, it's so much fun. It's so easy. It's really enjoyable. So I highly recommend this company and this store on Etsy. I am not stitching on this currently. This is an image that I prefer to stitch on up until Christmas or New Year. So I'm actually gonna put this to the side for now, and then pick it up again later in, I would say, beginning of November maybe, and then stitch on it and see how far I get. But I mean, this is how far I got in 11 days. So if I pick this back up, then I'm gonna, maybe I won't finish it until Christmas this year, but we'll see. But I'm gonna save it, I'm gonna savor it, I'm gonna wait, and like I said, pick it up November, maybe October, depending on the weather. I don't know if I said, I might have to repeat myself. 16 count Ada cotton floss, the company Momentos Magicos, or Magical Moments, or whatever. Super nice kit. Highly recommend. And that is the last one. I have actually started another kit, but that is not part of 2022. I did start that just like yesterday. So that is a question for the next Flosstube. I have my little project book here, which is just a regular notebook. It is a little bit fancy, with looking like this, and I just write up all my projects in here by hand. Like I said, nothing fancy, and we'll see what happens. I do have a little bit of notes in here scattered in about the floss tubes, like some facts and stuff. I don't really write scripts when I do this, but I do write down some stuff that I want to say. I tend to forget most of it, actually. And when I go back and look at my notes, I'm like, ooh, I didn't say that, which is fine. That is just, you know, my brain. So I thought I'd just share that with you, my little project book. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have an incredible year 2023. Take care and happy stitching. I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.